There's a lot going on with Stop Killing Games. I guess the quick version of it is this is a movement for game preservation. It's essentially at its core. It's about preserving games. It's about making sure that customers don't get ripped off, servers getting shut down. Like, how many times have we talked about, me and Dan or someone else talked about, this game from our childhood, and it's like, oh man, this game, and what happens if we couldn't play that game anymore? Well, I paid my money for that game. I should be able to own that game. If you choose to shut the servers down, why can't the fans have access to create their own servers with these games or something like that? Why do you have the ability to take that away from us? So it started out as Stop Killing Games. It's pretty simple. Stop killing games, preserve these games. This has been going on for what, like a year now?
But a little over a year, because the crew got shut down.
Yes, the crew from Ubisoft.
And they took it out of people's library, so you couldn't play it in single player mode. You can't do like little private servers if you want to play it. It's just gone. Like you can't do anything with it.
Not even private servers.
The crew, the racing game?
Yeah.
The crew?
So this kind of gives you a little bit of it right here.
Did it?
So what is Stop Killing Games? Launched in April 2024 by Ross Scott, the Stop Killing Games movement is all about preserving access to online games, especially after official support ends. Ross argues that when studios make a game dependent on servers and later shut them down, they're essentially selling something with an expiration date without telling players. And that's essentially at its core what it is. Now, another YouTuber named Pirate Software. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Pirate Software.
I'm familiar.
Pirate Software.
Really deep voice when he plays the games. Pirate Software.
I'm calling bullshit that's his real voice anyway.
Me too.
I think he 100% tries to make his voice deeper, but I don't know that for sure. But it just So anyway, Pirate Software is a massive streamer and a massive YouTuber. And about 10 months ago, he uploads this video called Stop Killing Games, and he essentially trashed it. He trashed the whole entire movement. And to the point where not only did he trash it, he said he was going to actively work against the movement, which makes no sense because
what's his argument? What's his point of view?
His argument is go ahead, Kata.
Now in the game development space, right? So he's misinterpreting the whole point of the Stop Killing Games movement. He thinks it's like, oh, who wants to keep their servers up forever for dead games? Where that's never been the argument. It's just, hey, you should have something in place for when you shut down a game. Either, the fans get to do something with it, or they still keep it in their library. Either or, the people that bought the game get to keep their game. That's basically all it is. And his is saying that it's anti-customer, not customer, company. Or
he used to work for Blizzard, and he will tell you he used to work for Blizzard.
So he thinks the movement is trying to force companies to keep running servers that are not profitable. That's what he thinks is happening.
That's his whole basis, and he says it's like
but that's not the case.
His exact words were, "This is used cars salesman type stuff," which I don't understand. That
so then gift it to the fans.
Yeah,
let them pay for it.
This is the most argumentative thing I've ever seen. I don't even know why this is an issue.
It's like crazy. So I'm going to play this clip. And by the way, I know a lot of people don't like the Act Man, and that's fine. I've actually spoken with the Act Man, but his video on this topic is phenomenal. And I'm just going to play a certain clip in his video where he talks about Pirate Software.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
I watched that. Dude, his is a long video.
It's a very, very good video.
Eggman makes good videos when he talks about games.
Gamer.
Say that again?
He makes good videos when he talks about games.
He's phenomenal. He makes phenomenal videos. But this part right here is really good.
Then I'm a big hater. Stop Killing Games was stuck around 400,000 signatures for months, and it seemed all hope was lost. Until now. Who deserves credit for this sudden resurgence? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about Mr. Software. Now, unfortunately, Ross had done just about everything he could think of to push to get those 1 million signatures. And this guy is one hell of a diplomat. Very nice demeanor, passionate about games, doesn't really show any malice, hatred, contempt towards publishers or anyone. In fact, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that could actively dislike a guy like Ross, let alone publicly.
Okay, I really don't want to do this next part, but it's become a liability.
This is the guy behind Stop Killing Games. His name's Ross.
For the campaign for me not to. Our biggest critic by far
You may know him as Ross. This is also
That was a
Ryan.
good one.
This is also Ryan Kendall in about 10 years.
I was gonna say I also know him.
His
I'm pretty
YouTuber
sure
is-
he's a leader in that newest Captain America movie
He was
too.
a Captain Clarence. Yeah, he was.
We roast our own friends, so it's nothing against Ross. He's a good guy. He's a
He's
really
already
good
thought
guy.
4 steps ahead of us, guys. Don't worry, he's got a plan.
Fuck.
Streamer Pirate Software. If your
Alright, quiet.
only exposure to Stop Killing Games has been this video, then you've been misinformed. This video is by someone who does not understand the campaign, has been trying to stop it, and has been making up what it is about.
Let's get scurvy, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get scurvy. Pirate Software has been the most vocal, outspoken critic of the Stop Killing Games movement. Not only that, he has stated that he is actively seeking to convince people not to sign the initiative.
This is shit. Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to.
That is what?
That is horrible.
Pirate Software has carefully crafted
Like actively. Now, if you've heard if you've heard anything from Pirate Software over the years, he thinks he is the smartest person in
Yep.
any scenario at any point. No one knows more than Pirate Software. He is always the most intelligent person in any setting. Everything is someone else's fault. He never makes a mistake, and he never takes accountability for his mistakes because it's someone else's fault.
this persona of being a deep-voiced pro gamer, pro hacker, former developer, the everyday Cyberman. But most recently, some cracks have started to emerge.
That awesome guy.
Most notoriously being his epic roach out in a hardcore WoW classic clip. In this heartbreaking moment, Pirate Software abandons his team, his sense of duty, and roaches out. Every man for himself, intentionally sabotaging his own efforts to assist his team by wasting mana on max level spells, not utilizing his toolkit. He fucked up. He made a misplay. That's okay. It happens. Just say you're sorry, admit you fucked up, and help them grind back up the ladder. This is when the masks started to fall for people. My personal favorite quote from this.
Do you see my mana? What am I supposed to do for you?
Do what? Somebody say something? I thought I heard
No.
somebody. Well, there's
Motherfucker,
like
nobody talking to you.
there's fucking 9 people in this panel.
I was
can't pick
thinking really hard. I was thinking this is the most nerd call out shit I've ever seen in my life. I love it.
it's
He's
like, what does
"He
that have to
fucking
do with
mana dumped
anything?"
and roached his party. I'm like, this is real. This
I was
is
asking
very
myself, what
real.
does
no,
that
but
have to
just
do with
wait. Just
anything?
it's
it's
all
the
built,
context,
it's building the case. So like,
Right.
this is a guy. This is a guy who false DMCA'd a YouTuber, a video game
Yes.
that he claimed had his voice in it.
It was a
when
shitpost
it didn't.
game.
It's crazy. Like that's why you have to watch the whole video really to get the full context of it,
Yeah.
because Ackman does a great job of it. I'm just trying to give everybody the context of Pirate Software.
Right.
You were writing a narcissistic character. This is the perfect catchphrase.
Do you see my mana? What am I supposed to do for you?
Brother, help me.
What am I supposed to do for you?
Hey, Dad, can you pass the salt? What am I supposed to do for you? So this kind of turned him into a lolcow because he made obvious mistakes and then pretended like he didn't. It's kind of weird, dude. But then it started to get weirder. You see, Pirate had been up to some other shenanigans, including filing a DMCA takedown on an indie game that he thought used his voice and likeness. It's a
Now, if anybody knows anything about the YouTube world and false, and this is how I actually talked to the Actman reached out to me because I made a video defending him, even though I said in my video I didn't like him. I was defending him against another YouTuber that was DMCA claiming Actman, because I said, regardless of how I feel about somebody, false DMCA claims is the biggest no-no you can have as a content creator. You can never have false DMCA claims. If you false flag another YouTuber, it's a death sentence.
You're a pariah.
Yeah, you're a fucking horrible person at that point, and no one should trust you ever. And so the fact that he's involved in false DMCA claims, all of that, it kind of just builds this story about Pirate Software and what type of person he is. But I want to go back to the article because essentially what all led to this is this video came out 10 months ago, but recently people like was it Moist Critical and Asmongold and other creators have covered this controversy because it's blown up about him becoming public enemy number 1 to the Stop Killing Games movement. When before all of this happened in the past month, I think it had like 400,000 signatures. It's now closing in on 800,000 signatures, and it needs to hit 1 million signatures for whatever the threshold is from that perspective. And so he's essentially, because this guy decided to actively campaign against Stop Killing Games and talk down to people, he's basically had the Streisand effect of it. And now people are going out of their way to support it, including PewDiePie. PewDiePie just came out yesterday and showed support for Stop Killing Games. I think Jacksepticeye has also shown support for it in the past 24 hours as well. And it's all because of this clown Pirate Software talking down to people, telling people that he was going to campaign against Stop Killing Games. And now it's opened up a huge discussion about game preservation. And I don't think that there's any gamer who's against game preservation. Is there anybody here who's against that? Like, seriously.
That's an oxymoron. No gamer should ever be against game preservation. It's insanity. And this is all EU based, right? If I'm not mistaken, this is all EU based.
Listen, what do you want?
So we're at 755,094 signatures on Stop Killing Games at this point.
Yeah. No one is against game preservation, but I think the potential, except Mike, but I think the potential issue with this is like, what exactly do you plan to do about it? That's where the potential issues are. So what exactly is this movement about in regards to the solution? Like, I heard there's some sort of government involvement.
Yeah.
With this. And how does that work?
Does anyone have any knowledge on that?
Yeah, I have it. I have. Okay. Well, I mean, I have the page pulled up. If you want to look at the page,
just share it.
Yeah.
Because essentially, it's like anything else in life. When you have a good villain, it makes the story so much more interesting. Pirate Software has become the villain of this story to the point where everyone is pulling against him. All right, go ahead.
Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. An increasing number of video games are sold effectively as goods with no stated expiration date, but designed to be completely unplayable as soon as support from the publisher ends. This practice is a form of planned obsolescence and is not only detrimental to customers, but makes preservation effectively impossible. Furthermore, the legality of this practice is largely untested in many countries. Over the past year, we've successfully escalated complaints on this problem to consumer agencies in France, Germany, and Australia, and have brought forth petitions for new law on this problem to various countries. A list of the actions taken to date can be viewed here, which you can find. As of 2025, most consumer action on this matter is concluded, and we are awaiting decisions on it from several governments. However, there are a few remaining avenues left where people can participate if they are eligible. This is the most powerful option at our disposal, but it requires a massive number of signatures from citizens of the EU countries in order to pass. If we can pass the signature threshold, there's a very strong chance that the European Commission will pass a new law that will both protect consumer rights to retain video games that they have purchased and advance preservation efforts massively. So the petition to the UK government is UK citizens and residents can sign a petition here where if it passes 100,000, which we've already blown out of the water, a new law will be considered to be brought before Parliament for debate to prohibit publishers from destroying video games that customers have already paid for.
It's great.
New law.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, having the government involved is always a slippery slope, you know, and so I do understand that from that perspective. So, real quick, I want to say Quelndar just dropped the proper 199 on Streamlabs. And it says, thanks, Jeremy. Hail the 199 because we brought Uncle IDOT back. So, yes, the Uncle IDOT shirt is back in the store for 24 hours. Because Quelndar requested it. So we have links in the chat. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but I want to acknowledge that really quickly. So What do you think about
this because this is my big question.
Okay.
These remaining options unfortunately exclude citizens from other countries from participating directly. So does this mean that only UK-based developers will be saved from this? Does it mean that anybody who buys the products in a certain, is it only people who buy products in the UK? Is this only an EU-based thing? Does it not reach to the US?
I think this is like the initial
clarified on the page. Is it developer or consumer?
Can't affect us. I mean,
yeah. It could set a very good precedent to like.
Yeah, it's like a good thing to get the ball rolling, pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a start. But if it's a parliament-based law, it has nothing to do with us. But we can support it.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. Like the biggest problem and the bigger problem has been for a long time. We've all known that all of these games as a service, that this is what they've been doing with this for a long time. We've been complaining about games as a service, games as a live service games, unnecessary multiplayer, components in video games for a long time, because as soon as most of the time they're tacked on dog shit and have nothing to do with the previous games, and then they shut them down because they don't do well. I think that there's a bigger issue here that we've been not pushing back against, which is, guess what? We all can see the writing on the wall that eventually we're not going to own any games. Companies are pushing away from physical games, and gamers haven't really been doing much to fight against it. And I'm not saying I'm not guilty of it. I love being able to digitally download games. It's very convenient for me.
Convenience.
But the reality is, the fact that you can just up and remove content from a game just because you feel like it, or decide, you know what, this game didn't do as well as we thought. We're shutting the servers down. Sorry, the game's dead for everybody. And there's no option to preserve it. That's the way games have been going for a really, really long time. And gamers have done nothing about it. And now here we are dealing with this because somebody finally got mad enough to say something. And I don't know that it's, I don't know that it's time. I don't know if it's going to change anything.
And the bigger issue with the way that this is blown up is it goes back to Pirate Software's response about him actively saying, I'm going to work against this. Then the guy behind it said, dude, no, you misunderstood this. Let's have a conversation. And Pirate Software told him to fuck off. And it's like,
want to.
No, he refused to even have a conversation with him. And at that point in time, you become a piece of shit at that point. Like, no, fuck you. It's one thing if you have a lot of questions. If you're like, okay, well, what's I need some clarity here. I need some understanding, yada, yada, yada. These are fair questions to ask. I have the same questions. Okay. But Pirate Software has a huge following. He makes these statements. And then in the statement, he says, not only do I not support this, I'm going to actively work against this. And then the guy behind it, who's been super, super willing to talk to anybody who has questions, clarity. He commented on Pirate Software's video, and Pirate Software just told him to go fuck himself. And it's like, and literally the words I believe he said, Pirate Software said, eat my entire ass. That's what he told the guy. And the guy's trying to have a conversation with him.
He kind of looks like the kind of guy that would want another man to eat his
This
ass.
is very true.
I understand not wanting to have a conversation publicly. I totally get that. But I mean, if you can at least have a conversation behind closed doors and then go to the public and say, hey, look, we hashed it out. This is how this person is. Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, just to absolutely shut off like that, it's...
If I can add my 2 cents to it, I know this is not a political stream, but I have to bring my sort of capitalist universal ethics.
I try to stay away from politics because they're very controversial, and
I
don't
know,
want anyone,
man.
I don't like talking politics at all. So go ahead, Dan.
You never ever do it. No, I'm just bringing my capitalist universal ethics, or at least my view of what that is, to the conversation. And under that light, the problem is there's individual rights being infringed when a company sells you property and then doesn't treat that as your private property anymore after the sale, right? This is an infringement of your private property rights. This is an infringement of individual rights. Now, we have 2 things to consider, knowing that everybody agrees that that's a problem. There's not a living soul except Mike that doesn't agree that this is a problem. Just kidding, by the way. Someone's just arriving. But number one, first consideration is the government's not a great solution for most of our problems. I think most people in hearing this panel will agree with my view on that. In my personal opinion, it's almost never good. So like in Brazil, we have a saying, trying to kill the fleas by burning the dog. often getting the government involved in issues. Like, it might solve the problem, but you're killing the fleas by burning the dog. You know what I mean? So on the other hand, the second consideration is that's kind of, if the government is always there, that's kind of the function of the government anyway, to protect your individual rights, right? So to protect you from being stolen from, to protect you from being killed, to protect you from, to have your individual rights violated. So my opinion is evolving as we have this conversation. So there's those two things to consider, and I would love to hear Ripa's thought on that, because he shares my view of universal ethics, capitalist universal ethics. So getting the government involved is bad, but at the same time, if the government is already here, isn't that the function that the government should have to protect your individual rights from being violated? So those are my 2 cents.
I think Dan was kind of trying to get your perspective on what do you think about lobbying the government to get involved in this kind of stuff.
Because just real quick, because I think the dichotomy of this situation is getting the government involved is almost always bad for sure, but there are objectively individual rights being infringed. When a company sells you a software that's your property and they're not treating it as your property anymore, that's an infringement on private property rights. So isn't that worth to get the government involved in? I don't have an opinion on this. I would personally,
I would say on service. Obviously, I haven't looked into this, so I don't know to what extent, like, exactly these guys are asking for the government, you know, to be involved and what that actually entails, right? So the thing you got to be careful with especially regarding private property rights and the government being involved, is that you don't want to set a precedent where they're the ones that are the primary determinant on what's legitimate in terms of who owns what. And that's why that's the absolute worst case scenario. And I hate that, and I get why, but I've never liked that, no matter what video games. And this is including on ends that I get the short end of the stick on, that the first instinct for people, if they don't get their way or feel something is like, especially with the market, is doing something that negatively impacts the consumer, that the government has to be involved. The government has to be the one to correct the issue, because I don't know how many examples that we have, even in gaming, you know, with them getting involved with something, even if you feel like, for example, with the rating system, right? Like what happened with America, government, you know, gets involved, where they meddle in it with the private institutions, and then you get a worse scenario, right? So they may go into it with good intentions, well-intended. The outcome still is far more negative than something that would be a more natural, organic, I would say, market solution. So I don't know. Obviously, you gave me the cliff notes, and I appreciate that. I don't know exactly what they're asking for there, but just on surface level, no. I'm always going to be like, on a subject matter like this, like, no. But 2 things can be true. Someone bricking a game is a negative thing. Now, again, I don't know what that entails. Are they insisting that the government keep a server alive?
So I think what they're trying to do, and they explain this in the video that Jeremy sent us, is essentially like looking into, when you buy a game and you accept the user agreement and stuff, you're essentially signing a contract with a video game company and saying, I'm going to accept the terms of service of using this game. And a lot of times in those contracts, there's an addendum saying, hey, this game, it will last as long as we decide to keep it up, or whatever. We reserve the rights to terminate this game and terminate this contract at any, you know, at our discretion. And I think that they want to try to see if the government can involve itself, and they're going about it a couple different ways. One is manufactured obsolescence, which is, you made a game, you knew that game might not stick around for a long time, and you may just shut it down at any point. And that's not fair to a consumer to buy a product that you don't intend to keep going no matter what. So then those terms need to change, or to say there needs to be something in contracts that says, you know, even if you buy this game, you have the purview to be able to create your own servers.
Yeah, like your private servers, and keep the game alive within the community. You know, without being you know, shut down. You know, there's very few things you can say on the internet where you get universal agreement. But if, again, everyone knows this saying, but if purchasing isn't ownership, you know, then piracy isn't theft.
Yeah, well,
it's not theft. Yeah,
it's 100% of what they did with Marvel vs. Capcom back in the day.
You know, I've done this for so long, and I actually did think that I personally believed that the more fans would roast things, the more we would, more traction, the more things were failing, the more it would wake these clowns up. But I feel that that's never going to be the case in Hollywood. I've given up.
Jeremy literally just said, "I'm so successful now."
But again, it's all up to the individual, and if enough people are on the same page, just like anything else, like why didn't we get a Ghostbusters 2016 Part 2?
Yeah,
because it fucking failed.
I would love to see that.
Eternals 2, shit like that. Like, why didn't we get a second one? Because enough people.
Why don't we have an Acolyte season 2, man? I need that.
Exactly.
Man, I saw a post today about how I want a hole puncher. I want this guy.
Like why didn't we get a Titanfall 3? Never mind. I don't want to talk about that one.
Or Last of Us Part 3.
Jeremy, don't bring my trauma up. Okay.
The Titanfall 3 is my trauma. Okay, that's mine.
Other people played that game, Jeremy.
Where? Because they all fucking didn't exist when I was playing it.
I don't care about it. The smart gun was OP as fuck.